What's going on, everyone? About 51% of the S&P 500 closed down in the red today, and we have a lot to talk about as ticker symbol SMCI erased billions of dollars in seconds today as their auditor quit on them because they could not trust their financial statements. On top of that, Donald Trump's stock took quite the hit today, and we have a lot of big earnings to cover as Microsoft, Meta, Coinbase, Robinhood, and other companies reported after the bell today. Even some stocks like Reddit are ripping to the upside after they reported earnings, and that stock is up over 40% in a day. We have a lot to talk about today. There's a lot of great action in the market right now, and towards the end of today's video, we have a pretty exciting big money trade that you won't want to miss. But besides that, Tom, let's get right to it.
Yeah, the market was pretty insane today, but SPY once again was very choppy, only closed down 0.3%. There was some good directional movement, though, in both directions, up into resistance, and then, of course, right back down. But I think that really today, Mike, the big thing was all the big earnings that happened, right? Right off the bat, everybody's been watching the earnings calendar all week. We were kind of digesting how AMD and Google were looking into this morning. We saw quite a few more tickers report tonight. Microsoft, Meta, Coinbase, like you mentioned, and even some more, names that we hadn't mentioned too often, like Reddit, which is up 41%. Some of the moves that we're seeing from these earnings are just mind-blowing. But to kick things off, I guess, firstly, I'm going to talk about Microsoft, Mike. They're not really doing too much in after hours right now. And going over to their earnings, they actually had 16% year-over-year revenue growth, which was nice. They also beat on their Azure revenue growth, which was at 33%. So overall, the earnings weren't too bad, and I would say pretty dang good for Microsoft. But granted, the reaction so far is pretty lackluster.
Yeah, so they made more profit than everyone was expecting them to. They brought in more revenue than everyone was expecting them to. And like you said, pretty decent earnings overall, but their earnings weren't good enough to truly wow investors and have the stock truly rip to the upside. So Microsoft was pretty much a dud in terms of earnings movement. But as we know with earnings season, the stock just reported earnings, and it would not be surprising at all to see the stock move more tomorrow. So let's continue to keep it close on the radar, where if it does pick up some, strong bullish or bearish momentum, that can present some earnings continuation opportunities. But on a different note, we were seeing a little bit of movement with Meta, but even this one wasn't all that crazy.
It really wasn't, and it actually failed to break back out above $600. It fell off a little bit, and it came back, but overall, the Meta earnings were pretty good in their own right. They beat revenue, they beat profit, but there was a big miss, I guess you could say here. So they did miss on user growth, and of course, that's not what you want to hear. Their daily active people did grow 5% year over year. It's just that they were expecting 3.31 billion in growth, not 3.29. So it was really close, honestly, but at the end of the day, for Zuckerberg, I guess his face right here says it all. It's just a lackluster report, especially for a stock that is killed it this year. Whenever I go to a daily chart of this stock, Mike, it's hard to find one over the past couple years that is better than this.
Yeah, so as we look at the earnings from today, the big boys, Meta and Microsoft, didn't do anything too crazy, but a lot of the other stocks did. Reddit was one stock today, as we mentioned briefly already, that is truly crushing it. They're up over 40% on the day. They're growing revenue 68% year over year, and they're just crushing it, which is really good to see. So for stocks like Reddit, let's continue to have them on close watch, because when you have a stock moving up by 40% in a day, of course that brings a lot of opportunities in many different ways. But even if you are late to the move, there's still a lot of opportunity trading the counter trend to this. So for example, there will be a point when this stock does get overextended and the uptrend starts to slowly turn into the other direction. In that situation, you can kind of, play the stock to the downside and, profit off that. So that's one stock to keep on the radar. But even other stocks like Coinbase, Robinhood, and MSTR are also moving quite a bit.
Yeah, they are, Mike. Coinbase is falling down in after hours quite a bit right now. And one other stock that deals with Bitcoin a lot is MicroStrategy. I would say MicroStrategy has even been more popular than Coinbase over the past few months. And looking at MicroStrategy here, they are down in after hours, and it's not looking too good on this report. Unlike the big boys, Meta and Microsoft, this one's not as good. So they missed on revenue, they missed on profit. And whenever you miss on those two things, of course, that is a terrible thing to see. Their revenue actually declined 10.3% year over year, which was a pretty bad thing to see for such a popular and such a just such a stock like MicroStrategy that has actually had that good bullish momentum that everybody likes, and they don't even have positive revenue here.
Yeah, so like as we look at all these earning stocks right now, it's important to keep in mind that there is a lot of different action happening in the market right now. Looking at the earnings calendar, we have some giant companies reporting not only today, but even throughout the rest of the week and even into next week. Tomorrow we have Amazon, Apple, and Intel after the bell, which will be very important. So definitely keep these stocks on watch. But whether you're looking at, these stocks or any other stocks that recently reported earnings, let's keep in mind that earnings reports are all a game of momentum. When stocks move in a strong way, that brings upon even more strength in buying pressure and FOMO, only pushing the stocks even higher until that trend changes and, the craziness starts going on in the opposite direction. But understand that during times of earnings, there is just power, there's momentum, there's big moves. Like AMD today got taken to the woodshed as this one was down over 10% on the day, and that's not a good sign for the chip industry, Tom, especially given that news with SMCI earlier today.
Oh my gosh, the SMCI news was some of the worst news that I've ever seen for a company, down 32%, and I know way too many people have been buying up the dip on this one, so they've been accused of a lot of issues, Mike, and it looks like their auditor is actually saying, see you guys later. They're resigning after raising these concerns, and they're pretty much saying that management is not working with them. I've seen a lot of bad quotes about management here by the auditor, and overall, Mike, it's not good whenever you have financial problems, especially whenever you're doing stuff kind of shady behind the scenes at the same time. It's almost making me think of Nikola, how people are losing confidence in this one.
Oh no, Tom. that is a bold comparison, but I really don't blame you because this stock has been a dumpster fire over the past couple months, and every time I look at it, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. As we look at the stock right now, some people questioned if this would be a good time to buy the dip. I don't think it is. Like when you have news that your auditor is leaving you because, you're doing shady things, then, that's about as big of a red flag as you can get. At the same time, if you're into scalping or super, super short-term trades, then maybe there'll be an opportunity. But honestly, this is one that I think is best to step away from and just watch and see how it unfolds.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes stocks that are in these downtrends like this, the downtrends can last for a long time. And guys, I understand SMCI was probably some of your favorite stock at one point, right? It had some great movement. I don't blame you. And but at the end of the day, sometimes these growth stocks and companies, they just don't make it, right? Not all of them do, but there are ones out there that have had a lot more success. So just keep that in mind. Not all companies are equal, as we know. A lot of people are even asking me today, hey, do you think SMCI is going to end up affecting the other chip companies? Personally, I don't, because I don't think NVIDIA or AMD is going to get any shady things like this going on.
Yeah, so either way, let's keep a close eye on chip stocks in general, though, whether you're looking at SMCI, AMD, NVIDIA, or any of the other ones, or you could even look at ticker symbol SMH, which is basically a whole bunch of chip stocks all in one, to get a good idea of how this area of the market is reacting. I know, when NVIDIA earnings come out, that will be important, especially considering that one is still so close to its all-time high, but it's definitely interesting to see what's going on in chip land at the moment. But as we all know, the election is getting closer and closer, and it is less than 1 week away. Trump's stock, ticker symbol DJT, has been ripping over the past couple of months, but today was a bloodbath.
It definitely was down 22%, as we've mentioned earlier in the video. And Mike, DJT just got, like you said, got taken to the woodshed today. Pretty rough. But I will say, looking at the stock overall, it's had some great movement. And whenever you have great volatility to the upside, there's also a lot of great volatility to the downside mixed in. And we have to keep in mind that the election is just coming up early next week. So that's going to be a huge event for this. I assume, Mike, that every day heading closer to the election, we're going to see the volatility get even better and better with this one. Just expect more volatile moves. And I just can't even believe the stat that this one, its average percent rise is 6.34%. I say that all the time, but we don't see that very often.
When you hear that the average rise is over 6%, that's a lot. But in other terms, over the past month or so, the stock is up 370%. That is a massive increase. So like Tom said, it's like when you have a volatile stock like this, days like today are just part of the game. It's the cost of doing business with a stock like this one. Of course, some specific news can be attributed to this. Of course, depending on what Trump says at his rallies and everything like that does have an impact. But at the end of the day, with a stock like this one, or quite frankly, any other momentum-driven volatile stock out there, they just trend in strong ways in both directions. And the direction of the trend is always changing, where it's more so about just positioning yourself advantageously for those trend changes rather than just trying to, bag hold either a long position or a short position. But I think DJT will be a stock worth keeping on your radar, especially at least for the next week, given that the election is less than a week away. As new developments come out, this stock will continue to be volatile, which will present multiple different opportunities. Again, just make sure to adapt and flow with the trend changes, because you don't want to be left holding the bag in either direction when a stock as volatile as this one is moving in a crazy way.
Yeah, and I will say this, over the past couple of days, it actually started to fill the gap. From Friday into Monday, we had a bit of a gap up here on DJT. It filled the gap pretty perfectly. We're right around the $38 to $40 support. Maybe this will end up holding, into tomorrow and then the end of the week, but we will see. Of course, this one's one where, whenever you wake up in the morning and the market finally opens, it's one that you definitely need to be adaptable on. That is for sure. If I could pick any stock of the whole video to say to be adaptable on, DJT is the one. And also, if you're trading options, be very careful of the bid-ask spreads on this one. Do not get burned by that.
Be adaptable or get ran over. But as we look at the overall market right now, the S&P 500 is kind of in a chop zone. It's still very close to its all-time high, but it's not really moving to the upside or the downside with any real momentum. With that being said, what are the key levels to watch for SPY for tomorrow? Of course, in both directions. And, what key analysis is on your radar, Tom?
Yeah, as far as some of the bigger levels for tomorrow, this morning, and of course yesterday, we actually had a pretty good double to triple top on SPY, right around 583.20, depending on which time frame you're on. Of course, I'm on a 5-minute. If you're on a 15-minute, this will probably look like a double top, but nonetheless, or an hourly, it would look like one. But either way, I'm watching that level very closely. If we start to get a good move up with some of these earnings and a good breakout there, I'll be watching SPY back up. But so far today, we actually just moved back below 580 in after hours here, and SPY's pretty low, all the way back down to that 578.50 support. I gotta say this, Mike, because it's very important. We've actually been posting higher lows here on the way up with SPY continuously on this short-term little uptrend, we'll say. With this move today in after hours, I mean, we're finally kind of breaking that trend of continually bouncing and actually making that higher low. Now we're actually forming a bit of a lower high coming off of this overhead point here. So I'm going to be watching that very closely with these earnings and the way it's selling down. If the trend does change, we might have to adapt back down in the short term, because I know it's been pretty bullish over the past week with this uptrend, but there's been a lot of up and down price action here.
And I think that's a phenomenal point, because as we look at these higher lows over the past couple of days, they have been very consistent. But as you've shown today, it is giving out a little bit. And at the same time, the lower highs that we're seeing with SPY ever since October 17th shows that sellers are not backing down. And I don't really blame them, considering that there are a lot of risks in the market and the economy right now. And when you have an election, less than a week away, it makes sense as to why you might want to limit some risk. So we are seeing that selling pressure, really push through here, but we don't have like a true confirmation yet. We're seeing the market showing signs of getting weaker and weaker, as evidenced by this, struggle of making a new higher low. And if we see the market break below this like 579 area, that will not be a good sign.
Yeah, it definitely won't. I really like that 579 area for tomorrow. And if that breaks, there has been a lot of support, even around 578.50 over the past few days. That's pretty close to 579. That could be maybe like a first area to keep an eye on. 578 has seen a few touches, but in reality, Mike, with this trend, if it really starts to give out, I would not be surprised to see SPY maybe come back down to test 576, if not even 575 over the next couple days. So those are going to be some good targets to the downside if we get some true momentum.
All right, well, sounds good there. And as we look at the schedule for tomorrow, we do have some PCE data set to release 1 hour before the market opens. We will have some personal income and spending data as well at the same time. And then for Friday, we do have the unemployment rate and some non-farm payrolls, both of which 1 hour before the market opens. So that's the lineup for the week. And let's get right into some setups and predictions. A stock I'm watching very closely right now is still Cava, C-A-V-A. I know I keep talking about this one, but it keeps on working, so I'm going to keep hitting on it. Basically, the stock is overextended to the upside. It has a lot of resistance overhead right around this like $140 to $141 area. It's already showing weakness, and it's overextended, right? Cava, as I'm sure many of you know, is in the restaurant industry, and when we had news recently with Chipotle, ticker symbol CMG, falling down by 7% on their earnings report, that's not necessarily the greatest sign for other companies that are in its industry. Cava is not exactly the same, but they do have a lot of similarities, which is part of the reason why the stock fell today. Either way, Cava is definitely still on my bearish radar going forward. It's still overextended, and I'm liking this continuously increasing bearish price action and momentum. I would love for this stock to get back down to like the $120 area over like the next couple of weeks and months. But then again, that will take some time. In a more realistic sense, especially if we could see like more weakness in the market as a whole, I wouldn't be surprised if this stock got back down to like that 130 area.
Yeah, that would be pretty big, back down to 130, and of course, 120. I know that seems like it's pretty far away, but, considering how Cava moves, it could really get there. Sometimes the drops and the good momentum on this one are pretty awesome as well. The average percent rise is 2.48, as well as the percent fall being 1.74%. But my first play of the day is actually AMD. I'm going with the continuation on this one. It keeps breaking down even more every time I look at it. It's actually under 150 now, and it's actually breaking under a bit of a trend line. So that is a good sign to see here in after hours. If I see a move down below like 147 tomorrow, and I just see that good downside continuous momentum like we saw today, I'm going to keep watching AMD down, and I do want to show the trend line, because as AMD's been moving up on the daily chart, it has been bouncing off of a trend, and it looks like with the earnings, we're getting a little bit through there. Another good red day tomorrow would be a great confirmation.
Sounds good, and I will keep that one on my radar as well. Another stock that I'm looking at is SLV, and it is to the upside. SLV, for those of you who don't know, follows silver prices, and gold and silver have been uptrending in a very strong way over the past year. Gold actually broke another record high today, as it is just under $2,800 per ounce. So that's pretty exciting. Silver doesn't have as much hype and excitement with it yet, but it is still pretty close to its recent highs, and it does tend to move in a different but volatile way, like GLD in gold prices. Either way, SLV's on my bullish radar. I would love to see the stock get back above that like $31.10 area and to put continuous pressure on its highs. If it could do that, I think it will offer some nice reward to risk skew in a bullish way.
Yeah, the uptrend has been great with gold. Hopefully silver can get it going. They've been lagging behind the past couple days as gold's been making those highs. So hopefully we see the metals continue this push so silver can get that push that it needs. But with my next play, I'm looking at Boeing to the upside, ticker symbol BA. I've talked about this one a little bit, but looking at it on the daily chart, it's bouncing off of a pretty crucial support. This support is crazy. There's also a big trend line on the daily chart, and I have to go to like a 1 hour chart to kind of show some of these wicks because it's in after hours. But I do want to go to the daily and also just show you how long this trend has been holding up since 2020. And we're starting to, the last time we actually bounced off this, Boeing had some insane movement. Again, we're seeing very similar price action off of the same exact line, and we're at that crucial 150 support as well. So I'm really looking for a better extension up through here. I think there could even be a good swing opportunity where like you have a stop loss down below 145, and for example, you could maybe target like 165, 170 to the upside. So I do think that there could be even more better targets than that, but those would be some better short-term ones to look for. But overall, I'm looking for that support to hold up with Boeing, and it's not necessarily a play that I think will break out tomorrow. I would not be surprised if it consolidated slightly longer, but I don't think that entering one day too early is a bad thing either.
Yeah, scaling in is a great thing to have on your side. I was looking at the Bookmap earlier today, and I saw a wall of sellers lined up at that $160 level, so definitely keep that on watch as well. And as we can see, there is some chop at 157 as well, so keep that on the radar. But besides that, I will definitely also have a close eye on Boeing. But besides that, let's jump right into today's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have ABBV to the upside.
Yeah, AbbVie, awesome movement today. 6.36% with their earnings. If they're able to break out above 202.50, then watch them up and just make them really have that same momentum as today. That was fantastic.
All right, with the next one, we have UAL also to the upside. And Tom, these airlines and cruise lines have been crushing it lately.
I thought UAL would slow down by now, but it just does not. And it broke above $80 today, of all things, around the end of the day, and it's holding it in after hours. So for tomorrow, if it breaks that high of day, right around $80.80 to $81, watch it back up. There's been so much momentum here.
All right, and then with the last one, we have Bros, BROS, to the downside.
Yeah, this is a bit of a different one here, Mike. Down 5.75%. If they continue to put this bearish price action on their lows of days, and they're able to get back below 32.80 tomorrow, continue to watch this one down. And I saw this on the daily chart, and it really caught my eye. And there's been times with this stock where as it turns over in a pretty major way on the daily. So hopefully we keep seeing this good downside action that break below the low tomorrow.
All right, so we have BROS on watch for a downside move, and then we have UAL and ABBV on watch for upside moves, but understand that momentum plays like these ones are important that they actually have to have momentum. So if these stocks do not break the levels that were listed, then don't feel the need to force the trades. The stronger and more consistent these setups move, the better these setups become. We're looking for strength, momentum, and just, consistency with the price action here. So keep these three stocks on watch, and let's get right into today's $830,000 big money trade, and we are looking at ticker symbol SNAP, Snapchat. So this stock popped up by nearly 16% today, and the big money is buying this run up as well. They bought the 13 strike call options that expire, I would say, pretty soon, which is on the December 20th of 2024 expiration date. And again, this is an $830,000 trade. Looking at Snapchat stock over the past couple of years, this stock has been really stuck between like the $8 and $10 area. Every time it tried to bounce up over these past couple of years, it got rejected down in a pretty strong way. It looks that this earnings report might be different based off of the current level of momentum, price action, and even good big money trades. On top of that, the stock also, or Snapchat also announced a $500 million buyback program, which is nice to see. As we look at this trade right here, the 13 strike call options are basically at the money. They have some time to them. So it's definitely like a medium-term trade, and I'm excited to see how this one does, because the stock is moving with some good momentum.
Yeah, it is. It actually just filled the gap to the upside as well, which kind of scares me. But at the end of the day, with earnings like this, we could maybe start to break that trend and get back here. You know, Snapchat, like you said, over the past couple of years, some of these gaps and moves that it has with earnings is just absolutely insane. Like when I don't know that I see many stocks with that many weird gaps from earnings like every single time. And with this one, it looks like it's actually trending back up, which is a good sign. And I could see a pretty good continuation. So I also like that it's a medium-term trade. That way we don't have to hold it too long. You know, we've had a lot of set 'em and forget 'em over the past couple videos. So this one is a little bit more fun. And hey, earnings continuations are always great, right? You can catch some pretty good runs on these ones.
Yeah, so we'll keep a close eye on this one going forward. I guess like my main concern is that like if the election brings in like some significant selling pressure, then of course that can throw a setup like this one off. But then again, you could make that same argument for every other trade. So I guess that's just the cost of doing business, right? But either way, keep this stock close on watch going forward. But as we look at the market right now, it's going to be an exciting next couple of weeks or so. Of course, the election will add a little bit of spice to the mix. Earnings season is still in full effect. We have stocks like SMCI getting shredded, and there's a lot going on right now. Even ticker symbol DJT is all over the place. Let's continue to trade in smart ways and position ourselves in a smart, strategic, long-term oriented way. If you guys are new to the channel, consider obliterating the subscribe button to get our videos recommended to you more often. Every single video, we cover the most important news, information, chart setups, big money plays, and everything you have to know in about 20 to 25 minutes or less. We spend hours making these videos so you guys could have literally everything you have to know about the market. Also, we want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, new to Mo in the Stocked Up trading floor, who did a great job with some Dell call options today with the bot. So huge shout out to you, new to Mo, and great work here. And you've been in the Discord for over 4 years now, which is awesome to see. So thanks for being a great member, and it's awesome having you in the community. Besides that, thank you all so much for watching. There's a lot of excitement and opportunity in the market right now, and it's not slowing down anytime soon. If you guys are into short-term trading, as always, check out that first link in the description and the comments down below to claim the best deal possible for the Stocked Up trading floor. Basically, with this, you get access to everything you need as a short-term trader. Full access to our army of trading robots, access to our weekly live events, which is tonight at 9 p.m. You can chat with Tom and myself all day long, access to big money plays, and all of our other tools. It's a spot to be if you're into short-term trading, and code PUMPKINPROFIT allows you to get the best price possible for the program. It takes $100 off the yearly plan. So definitely check that out. But besides that, thank you all so much for watching, and let's crush it in the market tomorrow.